Hello and welcome to Forever Rugby on Fair Sports. For today's review of the fourth round of the United Rugby Championship, the fourth game that our South African sides played in a row away over in Europe, and the last time they will actually have to play away from home for the rest of 2021 after the announcement on Friday that they will play their final two games of the United Rugby Championship this year at home in front of crowds, which is really cool. So, post the Springbok end of year tour, we will still have 2 weeks of very exciting rugby to look forward to, where we can actually get back into stadiums. We can get back to Ellis Park. We can get back to now DHL Stadium down in Greenpoint. We can get back to Loftus. We can get back to Kings Park. Stadiums that we haven't been to since sort of April or March last year even. So it's very, very exciting news. But in terms of this past weekend, a bit of a disappointing one for the South African sides. For the Stormers, they finally got themselves off to a victory, but for the Lions, Sharks, and Bulls all going down, which means that throughout the entire tour, the Stormers losing 2, drawing 1, winning 1, but all other sides winning just 1 match and losing 3. It's not the start to sort of the URC that we would have liked to have seen. But I think we can probably all agree that we saw enough to still be quite positive about life in the URC. I think if anyone that sort of has been watching any rugby throughout the world in the last couple of years would probably have been quite aware of the fact that, first of all, we've had quite a big brain drain. And it was always going to take time for us to adapt to things in Europe. And I think that we already saw in the second or sort of third round that the teams had started to adapt to the way the opposition played, the conditions, stuff like that. And I think that we can probably expect these teams to bounce back really, really well when they start playing at home. It's a whole different story to play, in Glasgow in wet or cold conditions compared to playing at a Loftus in December, with really, really hot conditions at altitude. It's very, very different. And I think that when our sides start playing at home, I think they will be much harder to beat, and they'll probably start getting some of those victories under their belt. And when you start doing that, momentum is a funny thing. Momentum really does help. So when you start getting your sort of wins under the belt, you start sort of building that momentum and that belief. It's amazing how you can sort of turn things around quite quickly. You go on a sort of 3, 4, 5 game winning streak, and all of a sudden you can sort of find yourself quite high up the table. So we're going to look at the table and the fact that our teams are very far off it at the moment, but I don't think that we need to panic just yet. First of all, I think we all knew that this was going to be a very much transition year, but also we've got 2 more games at the end of the year, which we probably won't see Springboks. We might, but probably won't. And then come January, we're going to have an extended sort of part of the season where all these sides will be bolstered by the return of Springboks and by the return of new players whose contracts finish in sort of November. So the likes of Edward van der Merwe going to the Lions, the likes of Bongi Benambi going to the Sharks. We will see, new faces at new teams come sort of January and even sort of maybe towards the end of the year. But in terms of the results that we saw this weekend, it all started pretty badly for the Lions on Friday night when they went down 26 points to 10 against Ulster. But I think it's a game, if you had watched the game, I think the Lions were competitive for a very large part of the game. And I think I think the Lions actually played quite well for a lot of it. They just couldn't quite get over the line. They just couldn't quite convert. And frustrating, when they did sort of concede points, because I think that there were needless points to concede at times. But as a Lions fan, I've taken quite a lot of hope out of the first of all, the performance against Glasgow Warriors, where the Lions probably should have won, as well as the performance against Ulster, who are, a very, very good side. And I think that the Lions look pretty competitive. And unfortunately for the Lions, they don't get any Springboks back. So what we're seeing is what we're going to get. So obviously we're going to get a couple of injuries back, but I think what's very impressive about the Lions is the fact that their pack has really stood up. And, if your pack can dominate and you can get a couple of backline players back, the likes of, Jordan Henderson back next year and a Terrence Swanepoel and players like that, and you start sort of putting together, a bit of a better backline that they can sort of gel together, I think this forward pack is giving them a decent platform. They just need to start using it. But the Stormers, a terrific 24 points to 10 win. So good to see Warwick Galan just pulling in the strings, really, and putting in a bit of a masterclass. Leon Zas coming in with a brace. A very tidy performance from the Stormers, who finally managed to get things underway. And they're actually sitting within the top 10 of the competition, higher than any other South African side. On Saturday, we then saw Glasgow Warriors not sort of thrashing Zebra like a lot of people sort of kind of expect week in, week out when it comes to Zebra, but doing the job and getting the job done. Glasgow Warriors actually in fourth, so they've actually had a very, very nice start to the tournament. It was then a very difficult game for Ospreys, who just managed to beat Benetton 29 points to 26. And if we've watched Benetton throughout the season, it's a side that a lot of teams will be expecting to beat and will sit there saying that we need to beat them. But I think it's a very tough side to beat at home. We saw how the Bulls didn't manage to do in the Rain Cup final. We saw how the Stormers threw away a lead against Benetton. I think their side at home will be quite difficult to sort of get past. And we're seeing a lot of teams sort of sometimes make quite a hard sort of work of trying to beat Benetton. We then saw Edinburgh after drawing against the Stormers, actually going out and beating the Bulls. Not a particularly good performance from the Bulls. And I mean, it's funny that out of all the South African teams, the Bulls will actually be last come the end of the 4-week period, and the Lions and the Stormers, for all that I reckon, they're probably the furthest behind in terms of the South African sides, actually sitting it better. But obviously, in like the case of the Lions and even the Stormers to a certain degree, not getting as many block players back as the likes of a Sharks, but Stormers definitely getting more Springbok players back than the Bulls. Leinster then punished Scarlets 50 points to 50. I mean, if you look at that Leinster side this weekend, it is an unbelievable side. We're talking about basically playing against Ireland, if we're being very honest. British and Irish Lions players scattered in amongst them. Ireland cap players on the bench and absolutely everywhere. It's a phenomenal squad. It really is a phenomenal squad. And I can't wait to be able to go and watch Leinster play in South Africa and see some of the best players in the world playing against our local players. And I think that's where this competition is going to be quite fun, is that we get to see a new batch of players. You know, we saw New Zealand, Australian and Argentinian players for quite a few years. Now it's an opportunity to try and see more Irish players, more Welsh players, Italian players, more regularly than, every couple of years sometimes, because Wales only sort of come down, every sort of 4 or 5 years, and England will only come down every 4 or 5 years. And then obviously you've got the British and Irish Lions every 12 years. So it's going to be quite a new, we will still get to see Australian and New Zealand players play in our country every single year, but we will also get to see Italian, Irish, and then when we start, Wales and Scottish, but then also when we start playing European Champions League and Champions Cup and stuff like that, we get to start seeing French and English sides as well. So with the new system, we will be able to see pretty much all the sort of nationalities of the major teams playing in South Africa on a year-to-year basis. And then Cardiff just doing the job against Sharks, 23 points to 17. And I think this is the major thing. You're looking at this game and you're looking at a 6-point difference. You're looking at this game and it's a 7-point difference. The Ulster versus Lions, 16 points, but I think it was a closer game than that. And that's the whole thing, is that the sides are looking competitive. And then Munster just getting past Connacht, 20 points to 18. Munster currently sitting third on the table. But it's just good to see that throughout the entire competition, it's competitive. Throughout this weekend, there were no major thrashings besides that Leinster versus Scarlets game. So if we look at the table and how it's sort of lining up at the moment, Ulster currently sitting at the top. They've got 4 wins out of 4 with 4 bonus points, 20 points. I mean, it's a perfect start for them. It's 5 points every single game. Leinster, Munster, 1 point behind them. So you can see the sort of the Irish dominance already sort of shaping up in the competition. Glasgow Warriors, probably the sort of the team I've enjoyed watching the most so far. Currently sitting 15 points in 4th place. Ospreys with 13 points. Then Edinburgh, Cardiff, Benetton. And then the first South African side sitting as low as 9th with the Stormers on 7 points. Joined with the Dragons. They are 1 point ahead of the likes of Connacht, Lions and Scarlets. You've got the Sharks and the Bulls who are currently tied on 5 points. And then you've got Zebra who've collected just the single point throughout their first 4 games. In terms of the fixtures still to come, obviously our South African team will not be playing in the 5th round. Well, they will, but their 5th round is only in February next year, where we're going to start seeing some local derbies. So this weekend, we'll only be seeing the European sides. We've got Glasgow Warriors taking on Leinster. I think that should be a very, very good game. We're going to be trying to be live for that game this weekend. Scarlets taking on Benetton. Zebra taking on Edinburgh. Cardiff taking on Dragons. Connacht versus Ulster. So, we've got some derbies there. And then Ospreys taking on Munster in the last game on Saturday. And then the URC takes a break until the end of the international period, where it then returns back at the end of November, where we will see these home games. So after being able to sort of get a 5-week taster of exactly what to expect from the URC, we will have a bit of a break. And personally, I'm still enjoying it. I think that officiating is still becoming a bit of an issue. And I think there is a bit of a certain amount of South African sides needing to adapt. And a certain amount, I think, has been a bit sort of officiating, which has been a little bit substandard. Some very frustrating incidents. And I point to the likes of the injury to Manny Russ, where the referee didn't cause the game, despite somebody sort of stumbling around for 2-3 minutes, clearly very badly concussed. And that's not even about interpretation, nothing. That's just a referee not doing his job and stopping the game when he needs to. So, Mandosh Tambwe's try, is something that's generating quite a lot of sort of debate. So still quite a lot of issues there to sort out. I think there will always be teething problems when it comes to competitions like this. But overall, I'm enjoying the rugby I'm seeing. I'm enjoying the competitors in the competition. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Smash like the video and subscribe to the channel as well. My name is Steven. Thank you very much for watching. and I'll chat to you soon.